Agree with Alan Greenspan, we ought to just eliminate the debt ceiling. Oh, absolutely, we do.
The ability of almost every working American to access more credit than they should have been able to masked the underlying fact that lower and middle class incomes were not rising.
That's not a tenable strategy. Isn't now the time to eliminate it? Oh, we've been a long time ago.
Let's put aside terrorism. Let's talk only about our own homegrown animals that are patrolling America right now. So it goes down to the simplest thing. Be prepared, be vigilant.
Well, it's time to pour another bourbon. It's time to pour another bourbon for a late night. Now, your faithful host, he doesn't drink much. No, not a big drinker. You know, there's something about it. I remember watching, what was it? The Dark Knight. I remember watching The Dark Knight, and Batman gave Harvey Dent a toast. Oh, Bruce Wayne gave Harvey Dent a toast. And he went out on the balcony after giving the toast before talking to Rachel Dawes. And he flung his champagne over the balcony. And I always kind of admired that, the idea that he always had to be on. You know, he always had to be ready for anything. And for the most part, I follow that same moniker, but every now and again, whether it's from the condition of this nation, the people, or, you know, sometimes, really the majority of the time I have a drink, it really is to celebrate. I'm not a depressive to begin with, you know, I'm never depressed. I'm so rarely depressed. But it's a late night. It's a late night, and when I get the itch, and when I know I need a drink, I reach for Maker's Mark. There's something so beautiful about the design of the bottle. There's something so... Let me tell you, I used to drink cognac. I used to think cognac was king. Until I realized that we make something way better than cognac here in America, and it's called bourbon. And that's what I drink. I'm not a big beer drinker. I might have a stout every now and again if I'm out eating a burger or something. But here's what I do. Here's what I do to honor two things. See, I used to drink cognac for a couple reasons. One, because I used to be a chef. And I used to be an aspiring chef before I was a chef. And I loved the brandy snifter, the cognac snifter. I loved the big snifter. I just thought it was such a cool vessel to drink out of. And I do like cognac. It's a great drink, don't get me wrong. So what I thought about is I said, look, I like bourbon. I drink bourbon. It's good. It warms the heart. It warms the soul, and it's made right here in America. And for me, that's as good as it gets. For a guy who doesn't really get that involved in drinking, that, you know, it's as good as it gets for me. Now, what I decided to do, since I already had a great, beautiful snifter, and I'm not a whiskey and ice guy, I don't put Coke in it, I don't put water in it, no. I don't chill it first, no. I feel like the only way to drink bourbon is warm and straight up. That's it. If you really want to get to know what you're dealing with, if you really want to know the bourbon that you're drinking, that's how you do it. It's straight up, it's warm out of the cabinet, and that's how you do it. But I do mine in a snifter, and this is how I kind of think of it. It's made in America. It's beautiful, right? I love the caramel color of it. I love the oaky smell and flavor of it. And I serve it in a French glass. And it reminds me of the Revolution. It's sort of my ode to the American Revolution. Right? The Revolution is the bourbon. It was born here in America. It was made by Americans, and that's the bourbon. But without the French vessel, we would have never won the revolution, right? It would have been impossible to win the revolution without the French. So the vessel for my bourbon is the snifter that originated in France. I hope I'm not lying about that because I'm not 100% sure. But it always sounded good in my mind. It's the end of the week. Can I have a laugh? Can we talk about bourbon for a minute? Can we have a laugh together? Can we enjoy ourselves for 5 minutes since the whole nation is captivated over bronze? The whole nation is captivated over bronze. The whole nation is captivated over bronze. And I don't know what to do. Because I'm going to be honest with you folks. There's a part of me that completely understands. Now, the priority of it all is very, very strange. The priority of taking down the bronze is very strange. But I can rationalize with the idea that, and maybe this is just because I'm from the winning side. This could be that I'm from the north, so it makes sense that we don't want rebels forever engraved into the society, and especially not in government buildings. Supporters of slavery in government buildings. Of course, we understand. No. But then again, the thing that really terrifies you is when you start thinking about what kind of road, and this is where I have pause. This is what gives me pause. It's the idea that if we start down a road where people who are offended get to rip down statues, and kudos to the folks who put those people in Durham in jail. Thank God they were in jail. Because that's not how you deal with it. Whether you agree with it or you don't agree, that's not how you deal with it. There's so much going on. Facebook bans white nationalist accounts over hate speech, but it keeps ISIS videos. There's an assault. There's an assault. See, this is what we need to stop doing right here and now, is stop calling people white nationalists. Because a white nationalist is a benign person. A white supremacist is an evil person. A black supremacist is an evil person. A brown supremacist is an evil person. Even though our last president had brown supremacists in the White House, they moved in under the moniker of La Raza, or if you don't know your Spanish, they were a group called The Race. The Race. The last time I heard The Race, I think it came out of the guy with the funny mustache. But anyhow, we got to stop with the white nationalist, okay? There's nothing wrong with being a nationalist. A nationalist is not a bad person. Look it up. Look up the definition of nationalist. You'll find there's nothing wrong with it. But what's happening right now in the media, and even on the Drudge Report, here I am on a Drudge Report, Facebook bans white nationalist accounts over hate speech. We got to stop saying it. You got to stop. We're building the bridge between white supremacy and white nationalism, and they're two very different things. Two very different things. Supremacy and nationalism are totally different things. I'm a nationalist. I got news for you. I am a nationalist. I am far from a supremacist, but I am most definitely a nationalist. I hold the interests of my nation number one over all, okay? You better believe it. You better believe it. I hold my nation number one over all. I hold Western values number one over all. Because that's where freedom was born, and that's how freedom keeps going. That's all there is to it. But we're in the Bronze Age. It's the Bronze Age here in America. The Bronze Age is upon us yet again. What do you think? I mean, what are your thoughts on this? See, I have two thought streams on this. I've had a few days to talk about it. If you didn't hear my spoken word piece with a song called Bloodborne Star by one of my friends from a past life, and his group Zero Hope, or his band, or his sort of project, Zero Hope, zeros for O's. You really got to check it out. What I did is I paced around my kitchen for about 30 minutes because I couldn't sleep. Literally, the Durham stuff, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep after Charlottesville. I had real trouble. But you know what I didn't do? I didn't come down and have a drink. What would most people do? They'd come down, have a drink, right? Help them fall asleep. Nah, that's not how I don't make those connections with alcohol, I think that's very dangerous. I'd much rather do it on a Friday night, feeling accomplished, right? I went to yoga tonight, but we'll talk about that later. I do want to talk about yoga to you tonight. But we're sitting in I have two trains of thought on this whole statues and renaming issue. Number one is this. Priorities. Well, let's go to number one being the other side. Number one is the other side. I don't think we need Confederate statues outside of government buildings. Places where people have to go, places where the leadership come to work every single day and where the leadership reside. We probably shouldn't have people who rode horses against our nation. And now whether you agree or disagree with whatever side you fell on or fell off, if you're for America, then you were against the rebellion. That's all there is to it. You had a side to choose. See, very interestingly enough, you had a side to choose in those days. We don't have a side to choose nowadays. You can kind of choose a side, but it's kind of mixed up. But back then you had to choose a side. And there was a side that was for the United States of America, which is where my allegiance is. And then there was a side for the Confederacy. There was a side for the Confederacy. Now, people go to these government buildings. They have to go to them. There needs to be okay. So one train of my thought is that there has to be a democratic solution, a.k.a. a vote in each of these southern states about the statues. Okay, period. That's how you deal with the issue. You don't have more riots. You don't have more protests. You don't do it. Whatever money it takes is going to pale in comparison to what the country's going to pay out in rebuilding these storefronts that are going to get smashed, the dead bodies. I mean, have we already not lost enough with the poor woman who died in Charlottesville? It's time for a vote, idiots. Idiots. It's time for a vote. You idiot mayors, you idiot governors, you all through the South, listen to me. Just vote on it, dummy. Just vote on it and put it behind you. The will of the people should be how this nation is run. It should be how the states are run. And then there's the other side. The other side of me goes like this. I look at it and I say the first statue to fall is it's the death of all our monuments. Because how can you not make a claim attached to racism, attached to slavery that doesn't involve every founding father who started this nation? How can you not make a claim on George Washington? How can you not make a claim on Sam Adams, Thomas Jefferson? Right? Andrew Jackson. How? And we will have trouble. You think Robert E. Lee is an issue. I can tell you right now, we're not removing statues of George Washington. It's not happening. It can't happen. We can't erase the history of this great nation. But you let the foot get in the door. That's what I always say about the government. And this Antifa and this left-wing movement, they're just an arm of the government to me. They're just a militant sort of government. Because while they scream, we want rights, we want rights, we want rights, all they want to do is quiet people up. They want to quiet people up and they want them to be beholden to everything that they want. And I think the government is enjoying it. I think there are certain senators that are actually enjoying it. While we're on the subject of senators, let's talk about Missouri. There's so much to talk about. There's so much to talk about. And I don't remember this lady's name. I know she was a Missouri senator who called for the assassination of Trump. Oh yeah, I said it. The assassination of Trump. It's hard to believe. It really is. And the thunder rumbles outside. We're having some serious storms here in Virginia today. Maria Chapanel-Nadal to be expelled from legislature after saying she hopes President Trump is assassinated. Senator Chappelle-Nadal said she hopes the president is killed. Republicans and Democrats have called for her to resign. Last night in an interview, she refused to apologize twice. If she will not resign, the Senate can vote to remove her, and I believe they should. It's a wild thing. It's a wild thing, but it happened in your nation. It happened in your nation. A senator called for the assassination of the President of the United States of America. Can you believe this? We are in the craziest time of our lives, folks. I'm talking the most wild. Everyone's making a big deal about the Boston rally that's going to happen, about the California rally that's going to happen. These are big things, right? Okay, the right's going to show up, the left's going to show up, they're going to fight, people are going to die. Why? Because we're not holding a vote. Well, there's two reasons, really. You want to talk about law for a minute? This is going to be one of those podcasts. Look, my wife is out. It's storming. There's a situation where she can't get home right now. And I'm not happy. And I'm up, and I don't want to be up, and I'm too tired to really write anything worth writing. But I'm not too tired to sit here and chat with you guys over a bourbon and the Drudge Report, which is what I have open in front of me. So I thought we'd have a moment. And enjoy ourselves. But what I'm telling you is this thing's going to be all over the place. This thing is going to be all over the place, this podcast. Which is exactly why I'm jumping from one thing to the next thing to the next thing to the next thing, and I'm going to carry on. Because that's just where my mind is right now. Everyone thinks the big deal is the riots here in America. We could end it with a vote. We could end it tomorrow with a vote. Yes, they stay. No, they go. Each state gets to vote. Therefore, there's no reason to usher in racists from either side. You see, racist is such a clean word. It's such a nice word, right? Black, white, brown, black, white, yellow, brown, yellow, brown, black. Race is easy. What's very difficult is this new rise of the left, right? The fascist left. Because they hate people. But it's not based on race. It's different. It's a different kind of thing. It's a very different kind of thing. And here's the other thing. We need to take out these white nationalists. They got to go, man. This is not something we should be applauding. This is not something anybody should be excited about. These people need to be beaten into submission. Yeah, I said it. They're not on my team. These guys are not on my team, man. And there's a tendency for people in the right wing to lean that way and make excuses and do this type of thing about, well, these people, they're looking out for... No. They're not looking out for anybody. Have you seen these guys? These guys don't look like people who could help look out for themselves, let alone look out for me and my family. Yes, I'm a white man. Yes, I'm a white man in a nation that is, without a doubt, putting a hit on the white man. Whatever you want to take from that, it's completely up to you. But I'm telling you right here and now, I live in a nation that is putting a hit on what it means to be white and patriotic in the nation. You can't tell me that. Because listen to me. I identify as a nationalist. Yes. More than a conservative. More than a Republican. More than anything. I identify as a nationalist above all. And my name is being run through the dirt because of the fact that white nationalists are being put on the same level as white supremacists. Oh, and the storm rises yet again. The storm surges with another round of rain. Oh, the Brussels sprouts will be popping. The fall lettuces will be crisping. The tomatoes will be turning. The onions will be growing. Maybe the kale will recover. The cucumbers will swell. The pumpkins will be growing. The watermelons will be growing. On Liberty Farm out there behind the house. On Liberty Farm out back behind the house. So what's the real story? If the story isn't the riots in America, what's the real story? It's the radical terrorists that are waiting in the wing. They're waiting in the wing. Defiance in European capitals. A knife rampage in Finland leaves 65 hurt. And the stabber, they would call him the suspect, right? You remember. They will call him the suspect. The suspect screamed out, my favorite Allahu Akbar stabbing attack in Germany. Erdogan says German leaders are the enemy. You know, there's something really wrong with Turkey. It's an amazing situation here. You have to understand what's happening. I don't know if they mean to do it. Some days I think the left means to do it. Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I think they're just that ignorant. But they're running a shroud for ISIS. They're running a shroud for radical Islam. That's what they're doing. And it's a very scary thing when you watch what's happening around this nation. When you watch what's happening in the Western world in general. And you see, they're still there. And for Wolf Blitzer, the little lowlife, to come out. Did you hear what he said about the van attack in Barcelona? He called it a copycat attack from, Charlottesville. I couldn't believe my ears. He called it a copycat attack, like the one that happened in Charlottesville. That's how disconnected. That's how biased. That's how monstrous these people are in the media. He called it a copycat attack of Charlottesville. When anybody in their right mind, any sane person, but you want to talk about sane, we can go down that path too. Any sane person would say, these are radical Muslim tactics. These are radical Muslim tactics. That's all there is to it. The unfortunate events that happened in Charlottesville, yeah, they were perpetrated by a monster too. But we've seen Muslims running people over with cars for a long time now. How can you say it's a copycat? If I ran the network, he'd be off the air. He'd be fired. Wolf Blitzer would be packing his bags and headed for retirement. I'm sorry. It's just total misinformation. We can't have it in a news organization. Sorry, you have to go. It's not a copycat anything. It's a radical Muslim who wants to kill everyone who doesn't conform to his sick religion. Yes, they're in the same ballpark as the white supremacists. The same person. Same type of person. This is my rigid ideology. You're either going to live with it or die. So what else is happening in the world? You want to get down to the nitty-gritty real quick? When it comes to monuments and it comes to American and the condition of America. And when it comes to... Now listen, I'm going to go out on a limb here. But my limbs are longer than yours. Just remember that. My limbs are very long. Because I pay my own bills through my hard work. I don't have to go in and face someone who's going to misinterpret me. There's no organization around me. My organization is Walton Liberties Incorporated. That's my organization. So I don't have to hide from the truth. And I hope that you're making steps to put yourself in a situation where you don't have to hide from the truth. Because all over this nation, there are people who are bought out by a salary. They live in a cube for 8 hours a day, and they're not even allowed to talk about what they want to talk about. Because if they do, they'll be fired. hit on the white man. I'm sorry. It sounds gross. It comes out of my mouth and I know it sounds gross. There's a hit on the white man. Oh, come on, dude. You've had it so good for so long. I don't care. These historical things, I don't care about them. I don't care about we've conquered. I don't care about we've always been on top. I don't care. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? I live in a capitalist society. The cream rises to the top. What do you want me to do? Should I be upset about it? Should I have guilt over it? I do not. But I will be there to speak of injustice when I see it. And I know for a fact that right now, if you're a white man and you walk into the office and you tell people, this is all you got to do. You walk into the office and you tell people, look, Clinton was too corrupt, okay? She was far too corrupted. She was a criminal. There were people who died. People who died dealing with her. So I voted for Donald Trump. You can't tell me that that won't negatively affect your experience at work going forward. Now you walk into there and tell people that you're a nationalist, that you believe in America, and you're a white guy, you're a white man. Listen to me, you're going to have issues. But I don't have these issues. And I don't plan on having these issues. Because my great fan base here at I Am Liberty is going to keep me afloat. You guys, whether you know it or not, you're spending money on Amazon, right? You're spending your time reading articles all over the internet that are written by me. And it's paying, okay? It's paying off in ways that are far greater than just the chlorophyll paper that we come to idolize. Way more than the dollars and the cents. Freedoms like I couldn't imagine. And this is what I want to talk about. We're wasting and exerting a lot of energy here talking about monuments. Okay? We've got Malcolm X described the white liberal almost perfectly in that he wants to help the black community, but he wants to do it from the front of the line. If I can be succinct. Okay? These aren't his exact words, but it's basically what he was getting at. The white liberal wants to help the black community, but he wants to get all the credit for doing it. And what do you see when you look out there and you watch Antifa, right, freaking out over these statues? Now, there's no denying that slavery was the worst chapter in American history, bar none. There's no denying it. There's no denying that some part of you feels for those people who suffered through slavery. You have to. You have to have empathy for that. There is no greater crime than slavery in the nation, in the world for that matter. But if I were an African American, if I were a black person, I think about this stuff, man. I have time, you know, I write and I think. If I were a black person in America today, I could easily gather behind this idea that my life, how am I going to make my life better first of all, first and foremost? That's where I would be thinking, because that's where I think today. Yes, I'm going to help people. I always help people. I answer emails. I answer comments. You know what I mean? Anybody who needs help in my real life, they're going to get my help. I'm a helpful guy. Ask anybody who knows me. But I'm always thinking about me too. You know, what is the next big move for me? What am I going to do? If I were a black person in this country, an African American person, or whatever you want to call it, I don't know how I could truly concern myself with these statues right now. I might think, look, this is a great idea. We probably should talk about the fact that we have people who fought against the idea of eliminating slavery in America, hoisted high up in the air in brilliant statues all over the South. Down the line, that might be something worth talking about. That could be progress that might be worth talking about. But what race is killing more black people than any other? Today, right now. How are black people dying today? They're dying in urban settings from other black people. Don't you understand that? Don't you understand that? The black people are killing each other off in ghettos all across the country. You look at Chicago if you don't believe me. And that's a real issue. That's a real issue that needs solving. That's an issue that has nothing to do with bronze. It has nothing to do with statues. It has nothing to do with slavery. It has nothing to do with civil war. What does it have to do with? Well, we could also talk about abortion. Look up the New York City abortion stats on black babies for the last few years. You'll vomit. Listen to me. If you have black pride, and whether you believe me or not, I do. I do have black pride because I mean, you can't even imagine the nation without the African American influence that it has. You think of me as a conservative, you think of me as a prepper. I listen to rap music, I listen to hip hop. I was raised in kitchens from 16 years old and up, working side by side with an all-black kitchen staff. I have a tremendous amount of pride and a tremendous understanding for black culture and the things that they hold dear. And what I'll tell you is, the real crime in this nation right now is the fact that they're killing one another off and they're aborting so many babies you won't even believe it. Look into it. I don't feel like looking up the stats, okay? I'm relaxing. I'm talking to you. We're talking right now. We're at a bar. We're at the Liberty Tavern, right? Your host is having a bourbon, and I don't know what you're drinking. I don't know what you like. A White Russian. But what I will tell you is this. If you want to help the African Americans out in this nation, and I've watched Democrats, I've watched liberals, I've watched progressives, I watched Antifa fail at actually helping, at actually achieving some sort of result for the black community. Years and 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 years. We've heard people cry and complain, proclaim that they're here to help. We're going to save this community. We're going to help the black middle class. We're going to help these urban areas. We're going to projects, and still killing each other. This is not a racist thing. It's not a racist thing to say. It just is what it is. Incredible amounts of abortion and off-the-chart murders of one another. These are problems for the black community that make bronze statues pale in comparison. They pale in comparison. Maybe the wrong term. Maybe the wrong pun or whatever. But to be honest, it's such a minimal issue when you realize how many people. I talk to people, man. Right? I talk to people. I hear about how black kids grow up in this country. I talk to black men. I've worked in a warehouse full of black men. I've heard their stories. I've heard how they clutched loved ones in their hands. They died from drive-by shootings. I've heard how they've seen parents die right before their eyes when they were young because they're living in war zones. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that there isn't a bronze statue on the planet that can fire an actual weapon. If we really want to help the condition of the black American, then we need to address what's happening in their communities. We need to address these things as a nation, not as a white knight, not as a guy showing up with a scarf and you know what I mean, and some glasses and a goofy look about him, saying that he's here to save the black man. I'm here to help. I'm here to save you. I'm going to save you from yourself and your community. That's what Antifa is, right? That's what I see anyway. I see a group of people, and we're going to help you. We're going to save you from yourself. No. We address it as a nation. Right? We address it as a nation. We say we're not going to stand for this stuff anymore. Right? You shoot somebody in the neighborhood. You shoot somebody, period, and murder them. You go to jail for 40 years, 50 years, whatever it is. It's life in jail, prison, done. There's no case, none of that. You do a cowardly drive-by shooting, you go to jail for the rest of your life. It's over. None of this 5 years, 10 years, none of this probation for good behavior. No. That's what puts killers back out on the street. I don't like laws. I'm not a fan of laws. But if we're going to do laws, we need to do laws that are terrifying. My father always used to tell me, you want to get rid of illegal immigrants? You want to stop having problems with illegal immigrants in America? If you hire an illegal immigrant, you do 10 years in jail. That's the end of your illegal immigration problem. Period. That's the end. That's how you write a law that's effective. Here in Virginia, let me tell you, here in Virginia, if you do over 80 miles an hour, this is a new law. If you're caught doing over 80 miles an hour, you're getting a felony. Nobody's doing 80 miles an hour anymore. That's how laws are supposed to work. It's not supposed to be, well, you shot another gang member and, then maybe we'll let you go or we'll let you off a little early or something to that effect. It's just my 2 cents, all right? That's the way I look at it. If I were a black man in America, that'd be the thing I was worried about most. I can tell you that right now because I am obsessed with the community in general, right? I'm worried about communities in America. I'm writing a book about it. It's going to be out in October. It's going to rock your world. I'm going to give you one big warning about the book. This is the warning. The warning about the book is this. Once you read it, the blame is on you. And it's a scary thing. But once you read it and you find out how you can engage the community and how you can take the power back as an individual, then the blame comes on you if you don't do it. It's a scary thing, I know. It's almost like the movie The Ring. Did you ever watch The Ring, where if you watch the tape, you die in 7 days? You watch this movie, this crazy, weird movie, and then 7 days later, a girl climbs out of your TV screen and kills you? It's very similar in that if you read the book and you find out how we can fix this nation, all of a sudden, the blame can't be on politicians. All of a sudden, the blame can't be on the president you don't like. All of a sudden, the blame falls right squarely on yourself. If you decide to read this book, take in the information about how to bring communities together and leverage their power, because your community has tremendous power. I've put so much effort into this thing, you have no idea. And I've found that the community has tremendous power. And if you decide not to form Voltron within your community, well, that's the most scary part about this book, is that once you read it and you get the solutions, this is not a political book. It's not about kick senators out, do this, reestablish this type of gut, whatever. No, this is a book about you. This is a book about what you can do to make the country better. This is a book about what everybody wants to know about. How do we make this nation better? But once you get the secrets, once you find out the methods, all of a sudden you become accountable. And that's what scares people. That's what's going to scare people about this book. Now, the fact that I do what I do is making it very hard for me to get interviews about the book, by the way. I've dealt with sponsors and I've dealt with people who want to have me on their show who all of a sudden don't want to have me on their show after they go to my website and find out what I talk about. They're terrified. They're disgusted because I speak my mind and say what I want about, the issues. From the New York Times, Trump-aside artists and preservationists debate the rush to topple statues. No one's talking about the fact that these are precious pieces of art. Mark Bradford, the renowned Los Angeles artist, says Confederate statues should not be removed unless they are replaced by educational plaques that explain why they were taken away. I am loath to erase history, Mr. Bunch said. For me, it's less about whether they come down or not, and more about what the debate is stimulating. So far, that debate has been almost entirely a reaction to Mr. Trump and his views on race, with little discussion about Confederate monuments and sculptures as works of art or historical artifacts of any cultural value. It's just another interesting angle on it, right? This idea that we look at these things as hate pieces, symbols of hate. Another way to look at them, right? How are artists and preservationists looking at them? It's just, I'm not taking, I told you my two sides, right? I don't want a foot in the door because I don't want them coming after Washington, right? Yes, he was a slave owner, but he put his life on the line, and had he not put his life on the line, we wouldn't have this country. We wouldn't have affirmative action. We wouldn't have all the great African American contributions to this nation. That's the reality. That's the reality. What else do we want to talk about tonight? Boston rally, talked about it. Terror cells in Europe, we know about them. Terror cells in America, they're licking their lips as we go at each other's throats, by the way. For every rally that you see in Boston and in LA and California and Charlottesville and Virginia, whatever it is, the wolves of radical Islam are just licking their razor-sharp teeth. And they're saying, here we thought we'd have to bring this nation down slowly. But it looks like they're going to take care of it for us. And from the ashes will rise the crescent moon. And Islam will take over. Who knows? Who knows? It could be the sordid thoughts of a man who's been up since 4 o'clock in the morning. It's nearly 11 o'clock p.m. at night. And just so you know, every hour that I burn is almost like 2 hours that you burn. Just, I'm kidding. I'm joking. All right, I'm a little warm from the bourbon here. So why don't we end this show talking about yoga? Because I did want to talk about yoga. It's a very big thing. We talked about the terror cell. We talked for a brief second about Facebook banning white nationalist accounts. We talked about the artist's view on the monuments. We talked about the Boston rally. We talked about the real problem in the black community, which is the fact that blacks are killing blacks still to this day. That is an issue that needs to be solved long before we worry about ripping bronze down. And I can tell you can rip every piece of bronze down in the nation, and it won't solve that problem. It won't solve the problem of the skyrocketing abortions in the black community that are killing black babies. You can say what you want about abortion, pro-life, pro-choice. I'm on the fence about the thing, It's really hard for me to really sit down and nail it down. But if I want to talk about pride and about being proud about my race, that brings up abortion. And that brings up the idea that how many white babies, how many black babies, how many American babies are being offed every year by abortion. And I can tell you right now, I read an article about a year or 2 years ago, and the numbers on abortions of black babies in New York City will make your head spin. Look it up. I don't remember it. I'm not going to take a guess at it, but I know clear as day when I read the article, my mouth dropped. And I said to myself, how many cool people went into a waste bin? How many cool people were sucked out of the uterus of their mother and went into a waste bin? That's what I said to myself. So on a Friday, my workout routine has been out of control, right? It's 6 days a week now. I've upped the ante. I've held myself accountable. I have done everything that you're supposed to do, right? I've held myself accountable, like I said, and I've also measured myself. What am I doing? How much am I lifting? How often am I lifting? How much? Am I lifting more than I've lifted before? And I can tell you that that's the only way to get progress. And aside from lifting heavy weights and hitting the heavy bag and throwing up heavy kettlebells, I am a firm believer in yoga. The whole, 50% of the listeners just turned the show off. Goodbye. He said yoga, I turned it off. I can't help those people. They're gone. Forget about them. If you're still hanging in there, you need to understand the benefits of yoga and what it does for you. You see, I have the ability to get up and walk around my house, walk in my backyard, go wherever I want, do whatever I want at any time of the day, so long as I get So long as my clients are happy. So long as my clients are happy, I have the ability to do whatever it is I need to do. I am not beholden to a cubicle. I don't have to sit down in a chair all day in meetings, from one meeting to another meeting. But there's a large swath of Americans that do, and I tell you right now that the sitting has an effect on you. The hunching has an effect on you. And there are very few things that you can do to help your body with that, man, and yoga is one of them. Stretching is crucial. It's crucial. Let me tell you about a feeling that's unmatched. First of all, there are some nights I get out of yoga, right? Some nights I go to yoga, and I like to do I can't think of what it's called. I'm struggling, sorry. I can't think about what it's called. It's when the poses are held for a long period of time. We'll go in there for an hour and we'll hold poses for 2 to 5 minutes at a time. And when I get out of a class like that, my legs feel literally like, I could probably jump over the building. Like if I really tried, I could probably jump over the gym. That's how good the legs feel, and the hips and the knees. You feel 100 times lighter than you did when you came in. That's the power of yoga. And it's a power that so many men don't want to tap. It's a power that so many people don't want to tap. And one of the most incredible feelings, I'm telling you, is when I go to the yoga classes that are provided by my gym. Right? I go to the classes that are provided by my gym. And what I find is that we are so used to walking around the gym tense and tight, right? Your muscles are tight from the squats, from the bench press, from the deadlifts. And you're used to walking around this environment tight. Muscles are tight from running and the whole thing. And when I leave a yoga class and walk through the gym, there's a euphoria that's hard to explain. Because I'm loose. I'm not tight anymore. I'm loose. I've been stretched. I've been manipulated. I've been molded. It has to happen. Like, there's no getting around it. It's a fight I have with my wife often. It has to happen. If you don't stretch your body, it's going to collapse in on itself. You're going to hunch. You're going to bend. Your ligaments, your tendons, all this stuff is not going to work. You're going to look like an old person. Because of gravity, because of your high-stress lifestyle, it's going to crumple you up like a piece of paper. So I'm telling you that it's time to get into the yoga studio. I don't care what type of person you are. I don't care how big you think you are. Maybe you were a Marine and maybe you killed people in Iraq. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It's not about, it's so much more important than your ego. It's so much more important than what you think you are. It's so much more important than what you think you should be doing. Yoga is a powerhouse. Yoga will make you live better, longer. And I do yoga probably 3 to 4 times a month. Sometimes on my own, sometimes in a class at the gym. And I will tell you that it strengthens muscles. It strengthens your back muscles that you rarely use. Right? It strengthens incredible muscles in your feet that you never use. You know, you get stationary, you get flat-footed, you use your muscles to press weight over your head or squat weight. Yoga, it engages you in ways that you just can't imagine. I don't want you to scoff at this. I really don't. I want you to understand the benefits. I want you to try it for a month. Do that for me. You know what I mean? I appreciate everything you guys do. You buy my books. You click my affiliate links. You make me money. I've even been referred to clients from listeners to the I Am Liberty show. I have the best listeners. You know, you guys are great. And there's more of you coming. All the time, more and more and more of you are coming. And it makes a big difference in my life. It really does. But I need you to do one thing for me. And the one thing that I need you to do is commit to yoga.